Welcome to Now Serving a Site of Therapy, a client's introductory guide into the therapeutic world. Be sure to follow, subscribe, and comment on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. To schedule a therapy appointment, call us at 650-223-5065. For more information on this and other related topics, check out our blog at isotherapy.com, where you can also contact us through our website. I'm your host, Dalton Huckabee, a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm grateful you've joined me. All right, so welcome to this week's episode of Now Serving a Site of Therapy, a client's introductory guide into the therapeutic world. Today we are joined by Tyler Buttrey, who brings a dynamic blend of arts education, community programming, and nonprofit leadership with a deep commitment to expanding access to the arts for all. Throughout his career, Tyler has led large-scale arts and life skills programs, supervised disciplinary teams, and built strong partnerships with schools, community organizations, and advocacy groups, both here in California and in Arizona. He's launched multi-site creative arts programs, developed digital studios, secured more than $1 million in grant funding to support initiative like the Creating Aging program, and serving adults with IDD and a memory care diagnosis. Welcome, Tyler, to the podcast. Appreciate you joining, man.
Thank you, Dalton. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so it sounded like we were just talking, right? It sounds like you and Zoe connected at like a local, what would that be called, like a health fair that you guys met?
Community Connections Day at Notre Dame de Namur University here on the peninsula in San Francisco area. Joined because I'm launching in partnership with the team here at Ability Path, a creative arts program specifically tailored to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And one of the components of that program is art therapy. So I wanted to make sure, one, that we implement this program correctly, but also want to build community within this sphere so that I can draw different perspectives and really make as holistic of a arts program as possible for the participants that we support.
And is that like any, you said serving adults. Is that mainly your clientele, adults too, or do you guys do children as well?
So Ability Path is over 100-year-old organization that supports people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and sort of the full spectrum, serving children from as young as a couple months up to adults in their senior years. The creative arts program will be working exclusively with adults, at least at the onset. I would be curious. I am hoping to explore working with children as we continue to grow the program. The benefits are so profound. But we're going to be starting off with people 18 and older.
Got it. Yeah. And so we've had like other kind of guest speakers on here on the podcast too, like someone that do like dance movement, right? And so I think there's a lot to be said for these other versions of kind of like, what do you call it? Not talking therapy, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like arts therapy, right? Like these that kind of get into other ways of expressing ourselves that aren't just through talk therapy. And so it sounds like your program is right, right up that alley. And again, being able to kind of encourage folks to be able to kind of engage in this way of self-expression, right? And maybe even like processing and things like this. So I'm just kind of curious, like, can you talk a little bit more about how that program that you're developing kind of like targets the overall mental and emotional well-being for folks?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited about this program for a multitude of reasons, but one of them is the ability of the arts to have so many different levels of impact on people's lives. So I think a lot of people oftentimes default when they hear art, they think it's just fun or just a creative expression. But what I've learned throughout my career, as well as my personal life, is that the arts have so many transferable skills that are able to be imparted in a way that's non-threatening and often can teach people how to more tangible skills or how to work on their social, mental health, social emotional wellness, etc. So one of the things that we're taking a look at here with the Creative Arts program is It's a 3-track model. So we're taking a look at a creative arts instruction. So this is for folks that want to come and quote unquote just do art with us. That can be photography, drawing, painting, ceramics, dance, music, theater, really multidisciplinary program.
Wow, yeah, that is multidisciplinary. That was one of my questions. I'm like, what kind of arts are we talking about? That's a lot of different kinds.
Yeah, we're really lucky to be offering this program here in the Bay Area, just such a nexus of creative opportunity and creative people living here that I think we're going to be able to cast a really wide net for the participants that we're serving, but as well as the teaching artists that we're bringing on. So through all of these varied disciplines, I've mentioned I've been in this field for a little over a decade now, and I've been able to see firsthand the benefits that the arts can impart. If you think fine and gross motor skill development, learning chaining of events, red and blue making purple. You don't just get purple. You have to take these different steps to make it. Learning self-regulation. If you're sensing yourself starting to get anxious or agitated, having the arts as an outlet, a space where you can go and draw out your feelings, write out your feelings, sing out your feelings is a really, really amazing opportunity for these folks. Oftentimes, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities may have communication difficulties. They may be nonverbal, or they might have different levels of speech impediments, what have you. So offering this, again, really broad and multidisciplinary art program, we're able to meet people where they're at and work with them in the way that they see fit. We're hearing directly from them. We're tailoring the program to them so that we can work through the issues with them to get them to the other side and then get back to that skill building or whatever their goals may be here with their set ability path.
And the cool thing about the arts is, right, is that, in this capacity, rather, right, there's no right or wrong right. My W's and R's are hard to say. Sorry. There's no right or wrong ways. I can't say it. But right. So like you said, you kind of offer, it's like a multidisciplinary approach. And so like if someone's kind of like coming to you guys to like engage in your services, like do they get to pick which one they want to do, and then they or can they do multiple different ones, or like how does that work?
So my sort of North Star in program development is always to be as person-centered as possible. So we have our 3 tracks: the creative arts instruction, the entrepreneur path, which is going to be working with people who want to become professional artists, and then the art therapy track. Within each of those tracks, all the disciplines will be offered. So again, visual performance, what have you. My aim, as well as my team's aim, is to work with each of our participants as they go through our intake process to learn what their skills currently are, what their goals are, whether that be through skill building, if we're talking therapeutic effects, whatever their goals may be, and then tweaking and tailoring the program to the best of our ability to make sure that we're fulfilling their needs and their wants. My philosophy is, this is not my program. This is not Ability Path's program. This is our soon-to-be oncoming artists program. And it's our responsibility to do what we can to tailor the program to best fit their needs.
Mm-hmm. And so, like you said, there's that intake process to find out like what their goals and interests are. Like, is that intake process kind of like, is that like typically done like in an hour or a day, or is that kind of ongoing? Like, how does the intake process look like?
It's a great question. So we are actually partnered or vendored with 2 regional centers. There are roughly 26 regional centers throughout the state of California, broken out into counties, that help facilitate and sort of organize services provided to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So the Creative Arts Program at Ability Path is vendored through the San Andreas Regional Center, henceforth known as SARC. So participants are engaged with SARC, and then they learn about our program through their service coordinators through the San Andreas Regional Center. So we get what's called a referral from the service coordinator saying, hey, participant X is interested in joining your program. They send us over a ton of paperwork. It can be their medical history, their information about their diagnosis, their goals, basically face sheet just full of their information. Then we have a conversation with the potential participants as well as their circles of support. That can be families, caregivers, whatever makes most sense for them. If they're conserved, we obviously have to speak with the families, whether that makes sense to the participant or not. And then we do a 3-day trial with the participant to make sure that's a good fit for all involved, to make sure that we're offering the disciplines that they're interested in, and that we're able to provide the proper support they may need. Once that is done, then we are able to welcome them into our program once we get official vendorization from the San Andreas Regional Center. That's basically saying the San Andreas Regional Center is able and willing to reimburse AbilityPath for the services that we're providing to the participant.
Mm. And is this your efforts involved in this program with Ability Health? Is this relatively new, or has it been in existence for some time?
So AbilityPath has decades of experience offering arts programs to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The major change that's occurred is the state of California has actually created a separate sort of billing structure for arts programming that did not previously exist.
Oh, wow, that's great.
It's really exciting. As an artist working in human services, I'm not used to additional sources of funding opening up. So
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I'm almost scared to mention it too loudly.
Yeah, knock on wood.
So historically, the arts programs have always been relatively small due to the lack of funding source, as well as integrated into our other programs. So for example, we have an adult day program that works with people, wide range of intellectual and developmental disabilities and a wide range of activities. That can be life skills training, so cooking, cleaning, community outings, community integration, sports, pretty much anything that you can imagine can be part of a day program, and the arts were previously. And they still will be incorporated in those programs. What's exciting now is with the separate source of funding, AbilityPath is able to really dive in really deep with people that are interested in full-time arts exposure. So let's say you're interested in the arts and you're in a day program and the art activity ends and now it's time for soccer. I don't like soccer. I don't want to play soccer. Now there's a place where you can come all day, every day, and get fully enmeshed in what you're passionate about, the arts.
Nice. That's awesome. And so, just so I clarify, I know you said that there is a AbilityPath partner, someone that kind of feeds in the referrals, but can people go directly to your team to inquire about services, or do they go through the other entity that you were just talking about?
It's a great question. I love California. It is a complicated system.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I'm like trying to I'm visual. I'm such a visual person speaking of the arts, but it's like in my head trying to.
And I get it, Dalton. I mean, like I said, I've been in the field for about 10 years and there's still some days where it's like, wait, how did that work? So if a participant finds out about AbilityPath, not through the regional center, they can absolutely reach out to us. They can go to abilitypath.org, learn about all of our slates of services that we offer from Daly City down to San Jose. And then they can inquire about specific programs with us, and we can have that conversation before we engage the regional center. The regional center, we need to engage them to make sure that we secure that source of funding and get the authorizations approved. But as far as conversations, just inquiring generally about program, it does not have to come from the regional center. People can reach out directly to us to start the conversation.
Nice. And so, kind of like you were saying earlier, like once you clients are kind of go through that intake process, right, and start engaging in the in whatever kind of program they want to engage in, then like you said, the fine motor skills versus socio-emotional learning, right? Maybe even emotional regulation. And so, would you say that even kind of like those things might even if they're not known up front, that they can still be revealed in the process too?
Absolutely. I think,
right? You know what I mean?
I do. And that's one of the things that I really love about the arts generally, and then the arts programs offered for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I can think back even to my own education. There's so much that I learned through my arts classes that I wasn't aware I was learning at that time. I was learning math. I was learning geometry. I was learning so much beyond just what was on the piece of paper in front of me. And we see that with the folks that we serve. As I mentioned, a big one is that I like to go to is that chaining of events. So oftentimes people with intellectual and developmental disabilities have a hard time understanding the process of things. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 steps to get to this end goal. So through our arts classes, we do a color wheel exercise. So you learn the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. Now I want to make green. Well, we don't have green. How do you make it? So you learn that process, that it sometimes takes multiple steps to get to your end result. Creative arts program here at Ability Path. And part of that is building connections throughout our community, particularly in the psych sort of field. One of the components of our program is going to be an arts therapy program, which admittedly is sort of a blind spot on my end. So I'm taking a look at working with certified art therapists as well as psych students on how we best implement that component of the program for our participants. We have over a decade of experience providing arts programs for people with disabilities, but I'm relatively new to doing so here in California. So it was great for me to be able to, just make another community connection, but as well, I really want to make sure we do the art therapy component of our program right. So it was great to be able to, talk with some of the professors and the head of the department there, but also get some feedback from the students as they're going through their coursework, just to learn, what they're learning through their coursework, and then seeing how they might be able to work with us to make sure that we're implementing that component the right way.
It sounds like what you're focusing on is kind of like a part of a greater whole of other services that they offer.
Yeah, so I oversee the entire creative arts program. We have 3 tracks to this program. There's creative arts instruction. So think of that as art classes. People can come in, whether they're looking to be professional artists or just the love of art, come in and work with our teaching artists on that front. It's a multidisciplinary program, so visual arts, painting, drawing, ceramics, photography, digital art as well. We'll have a performance art component, theater, dance, music. I'm hoping to do a podcast myself with some of our participants also.
Oh, great.
And then we'll have our entrepreneur path is what we're calling it. So that's for participants that are interested in selling their artwork. So we'll work with them to create the artwork, but then also build their portfolio, website design and maintenance, things along those lines, interview prep. And then that third track is the art therapy component. But Ability Path is a over century-old organization that provides supports to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities up and down the peninsula, from Daly City down to San Jose. And I'm new to the organization, really proud and thankful to be joining. When Ability Path was founded, and long after, unfortunately, there was an instinct when people were born with intellectual or developmental disabilities to be institutionalized. And I'm really proud to be joining an organization that was sort of at the vanguard of more community integrated approaches for people with disabilities. So we don't have like explicitly mental health services at Ability Path. We have therapy services for children. That's more occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, things like that. But there's so much about our programs that we know do benefit the participants' mental health, whether that be through social emotional learning, community integration, advocacy, community building.
Okay, because like you said, the work that you're doing with the clients still benefits them in a mental health capacity.
Perfect.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, the socio-emotional learning, for example, right, or emotional regulation, for example, right, all of those are kind of still enhance their overall cognitive and affective well-being, right, through the work that you're doing with them. Thanks for tuning in this week. Be sure to check out part 2 of our conversation with Tyler Buttrey at Ability Path next week, as we discuss cultural components for persons living with intellectual developmental disabilities, sharing success stories, filling the need of services for the aging population for persons with IDD, and enhancing autonomy through the arts.